All right, you're up.
Oh, I'm going to disappoint you. Sorry if you had to put up with me this morning and now hearing my voice again this afternoon. Tim Hill filling in for Pearson Fowler. We've got the great Patrick Perrette helping to fill in, produce in the Herndon Chevrolet Studios in downtown Columbia. Also, happy to be joined by Preston Thorne, fresh off hanging out with the Prez last night. Bob Caslin, I saw the social media post, and you guys you just rubbing shoulders with the bigwigs. Is that the
with the
normal
big
view?
with the big brass, man. I mean, it was awesome. Yeah, President Caslin came down to visit our students, some future teachers, the Apple Core Initiative program, and he was everything as advertised. He came down and he talked with our students for about an hour, and he answered all the questions they had, and they asked him some really tough questions, and he didn't flinch. He was very forthright, honest, and authentic, and I think it was a great experience for all the students. But it was really cool to see the president of the university be so natural with students and give up his time like that. It was really a great experience.
Is that the first time you've been around him?
I've been around him before, but that was kind of the first time I've spent that much time, for sure.
It's been a busy time for him. He was in the news just a few days ago, commenting, I guess, when they had the announcement with the MLS partnership and Carolina Online on campus. And I know he was at that thing. And my buddy Mike Gillespie from ABC Columbia asked him about the Frank Martin situation. And Frank talking at length yesterday, and we talked a lot about that this morning, being that was the first morning show after having the Frank Martin press conference and re-upping and the whole thing. Patrick, you haven't really commented on that yet, I guess. What'd you make of the extended comments from Frank yesterday, and now how Gamecock basketball moves forward? He was awfully forthright in doing a crappy job, and then some, he mentioned, and then talked a little bit about the transfers coming in, the guys moving out, and the whole situation.
I wasn't. I mean, it was kind of everything I expected Frank to. That's what we've come to know from Frank is he'll be honest. What was he going to say about last season? He wasn't going to pretend like, hey, we, he wasn't going to, he's not going to make excuses. That's not what he does. It's not what he's ever done. So I appreciate that. I guess I appreciate him kind of going at the media and everyone who was commenting from the outside. I guess I appreciate it, but also what we've come to expect from Frank. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's gonna be excited about or pretend that he's excited about the transfers. We'll see what they actually do. But again, like people are freaking out. If people are freaking out about the roster next year, just wait and see. We have truly no idea. And like I've said from the beginning, if you're upset about everyone leaving, I mean, it was a bad team last year, so maybe fresh blood will help. I don't know. We'll see. It's just, again, it's a lot of words at this point, and I don't think anything he was going to say yesterday was going to make people feel good about what they saw last year or overly excited about what they're going to see next year.
My big takeaway, Preston, is that Gamecock basketball is better off having Frank Martin than not having him. He's one of the better coaches in college basketball, has proven that. And to have Frank Martin extra motivated now, because I think the largest takeaway we got from most Gamecock fans was Frank deserves one more year. He doesn't deserve to go out the way that last year happened with all the COVID stuff going down and the 6-15 record. Give him one more shot. And with just 2 years left on the contract, the buyout being what it was, I didn't think that was going to be possible. I didn't think there would be able to be a deal made to where that we would be able to see that. But I think they did it. And I think Gamecock basketball will be better off for it, both in the short term and the long term. That remains to be seen, obviously. What are your thoughts? Because the way this thing worked out, the timing and everything, I know Frank was saying yesterday that it was a typical way that he ends the season and the timeline wasn't that much different and everybody was making more out of it than they should have. I don't think that's different than my opinion. I think it's exactly we were at the crossroads, man. It was either going to go with Frank Martin at least one more year and move forward, or it was going to be a bit of a messy split, and it was time to kind of reset completely for Gamecock basketball. This is close to a reset, but it's at least with a guy who has proven that he can get Gamecock basketball moving in the right direction in Frank Martin.
Yeah, one of the things that was really interesting is, like Patrick said, Frank was Frank, which is what we appreciate about him. He might have went too long, and he He maybe goes TMI sometimes, but I think we can maybe appreciate that a lot more than, say, the previous football staff, who we didn't get anything. It was like a steel trap. You know, we didn't know what was going on. And I personally, and I think maybe a lot of fans can appreciate that he took accountability for the job that he did last year. He didn't really blame it. He said that he did a poor job. And he didn't really do it in like the coaches speak way, whereas, you know, we got to get better. Next game is going to be our best game or whatever. He didn't do it that way. I think he was really accountable, and he just explained like, hey, I wasn't my best last year. And I think at least with him having that time to reflect and admit that, there's a space to move forward after that conversation.
And now moving forward, it looks like with Keyshawn Bryant and with Jermaine Couisnard, who he says have attended every workout, just exploring the options with the NBA draft, like A.J. Lawson has done in the past, and why wouldn't you? And when it comes to Lawson, apparently he can't do it a third time and then decide to come back to school. He's already done it twice, and that's why we haven't heard anything. That will be an interesting situation to monitor moving forward as well. Patrick, that made you want to say something there? Look like you want to jump in there?
No. I was waiting for that information because that's what I was confused about, and we had talked about. I didn't know the rule that you could only do it twice and come back to school, so that's fair. I was thinking about the when Preston said Frank is Frank. I was like, that's the perfect double entendre for when he does a press conference, because he's being Frank Martin and he's also being Frank, which is the way he speaks and interacts with people.
Yeah, the part I appreciate probably the most is just being brutally honest or blatantly honest about the financial situation. He gets paid a bunch of money. He mentioned it. Most coaches don't get paid what he gets paid and aren't going to be getting paid what he gets paid. And for him to be sour about the situation would be a bit ridiculous after the boatload of money that the university has paid he and his family, and how he'll be able to change his kids' lives moving forward and the whole thing. And I don't think we hear that enough. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so pro the name, image, likeness, and giving athletes more a piece of the pie, because those numbers have gotten so astronomical for coaches and astronomical for athletic departments and the TV deals and the revenues and all that stuff. And at least we're certainly moving towards that. I saw a recent tweet put out, I think by the partnership firm, Altius, I think is how you pronounce it, about getting the name, image, likeness, and getting to work on that with Gamecock Athletics moving forward. Preston, you mentioned the football staff and the previous football staff. Has there ever been a video of more contrast with what was it? Shoot or dunk, I think is how they did it. The social media team there over at USC put it out on the Gamecock football handle, I think, where they're doing a drill, and it looks like they throw them a little ball at the end of the drill, which is not uncommon in football practices all across America. Then they take it another step where they can either shoot on a little basketball goal or go and dunk in full pads and have some fun, and just like you and Lou Holtz used to do it back in the day, right?
Yeah, man. I was just saying on Twitter, the football is so much more fun than it used to be, because, man, I cannot imagine that happening with Coach Holtz. And we did play another sport one time, and I shared this on Twitter. We played another sport one time, but Coach Holtz had the idea that we were going to play softball, except we weren't going to use gloves. We were going to use metal bats, and we were in the old bubble. And you just would lob the ball up to somebody, and they hit it as hard as they can. And he eventually came around to the fact that because nobody was catching the ball, that's why we weren't tough, and that's why we weren't going to win many games the next season. And everybody was like, I don't think that's it, Coach, but all right, we'll take it. So the approach that this staff is taking, I can appreciate, and I hope it pays dividends for sure.
I need some more details on this. Was no one catching the ball because they were smart enough to get out of the way because you didn't have a glove and the ball was screaming at them off AstroTurf inside?
Yeah, it's not only that. It was the AstroTurf. It was the balls coming fast. Nobody had gloves, and we had set the bases up like at the regular intervals or whatever, the softball intervals. I think those are 60 feet.
Right.
And it was just like, no, I'm not catching this real live softball coming blazing at me after, let's see. Somebody Sheldon Brown hit this. It's like, what are we doing? This is ridiculous. And it was, I'm not sure. It's one of those things where I feel like he didn't bring that up in the meeting with the staff earlier because somebody would have had to object to that, or everybody would have just left the staff meeting and said something behind his back and let us pay the wrath for it. But yeah, a far cry from doing 360 dunks on the practice field.
Right, and being encouraged to do it. It seems like it's a bunch of fun out there. This is the weird part for me, and Preston, I think you have a better idea about this than a lot of us from the outside, having played and then having been around the program years after playing, about the coaching staff having kind of the finger on the pulse of the players. That's always a big deal for a coach at any level, right? How in tune are you with your players? And then how do you kind of navigate from there? It seems to me that this coaching staff, maybe more than any other we've seen, I think Steve Spurrier kind of had that reputation towards the end of his tenure of being a little disconnected maybe from the players. Certainly Lou Holtz did in the Clemson game and his final game. Unfortunately, there were kind of repercussions of that. I think Will Muschamp didn't have that reputation necessarily, but obviously didn't get the results that were necessary. This coaching staff, how do you feel like they are meshing with players in this first 3-month period, wherever we're at right now, but a bit of a honeymoon period, but the transition has come now, right? It has been winter workouts, and now you're in the middle of spring ball, and now to me, this is where naturally you go from, all right, let's all get better in kind of a big picture concept way to, all right, now there are reps on the field, and now there's position battles and depth charts, and there's going to be a spring game coming up on Saturday and playing times involved. And it's a bit more where the idea or the theory meets reality.
Yeah, the spring is kind of just a grueling exercise because you really just beat on each other and you hit each other all day. So it's not really the most entertaining idea of version of football. And so just to having them being able to have fun and enjoy themselves, I think is a really big thing. And with this group, I think what we heard, nobody said anything specifically, but you keep hearing these whispers of like, we're changing the culture. They're doing some things different around here. My hunch is that there wasn't a lot of fun being had around the building. And that's okay if you're doing a lot of winning. If you're winning and it's no fun, it's okay. Like, i.e., Patrick, like the Patriots, right? It's no fun, but at least you win, and that's sort of the trade-off. But when you're losing and it's no fun on top of that, then that's just when it creates a miserable environment.
And so now the challenge, I think, for the new staff is to come in, and it was kind of like Shane Beamer said in a press availability a few weeks ago. He knows that college football is tough. The SEC football is tough, and it's going to be tough when you come in the building, and the players need to know that. And this is not a rec league football, or this is not where everybody gets pizza after the game when you go out and you have a party and get ice cream and sing Kumbaya and everything's great. So I think, Preston, that's the challenge, right? How do you come in, set a tone of seriousness and holding people accountable, and at the same time, hey, we're going to have some fun with this thing right in this period right now when there are no wins and losses? How do you set that proper tone? To me, I think the easy answer to that question is you really have to have a good feel from your players and coaching staff about where they are from a work standpoint, and then where they are from kind of an enjoyment standpoint at the same time, and kind of straddle that line. It's got to be difficult.
Yeah, it definitely is. And as I was watching, I have to kind of fight my old guy instincts, like, why are they having so much fun out there? What's going on? We need to win some games first before we can have fun. But that's not true. Maybe you have fun and then it leads to winning games. And so, a lot of us folks who are on this side of 40, we're thinking about like, why are they having so much fun? But that might not be the right approach for this age group of players, and especially, how you have to, coaching has definitely changed. I will say, though, it's a lot easier to do all of these fun type of things during the spring when there's no record. We'll see how much fun they're having if they drop a game or two during the season. That's when your convictions really get tested, and we'll see how much they really believe in having all of this fun. But the spring is a perfect time to sort of try and achieve that balance.
He's Preston Thorne, that is, former Gamecock, I'm trying to say, not well. I'm Tim Hill, not filling in well for Pearson Fowler right now. Thanks for joining the Extra Point here. We got Patrick Perrette pressing the buttons and producing from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios in downtown Columbia at Coach P Tweets, where you can follow Preston on Twitter. Patrick is at _Patrick Perrette. I'm at Tim Hill 1075. Glad you're a part of the program this morning. Like usual, 803. It's not this morning, this afternoon, sorry. 803. 404-6100 is the number. You can call or text the show. We're also up and rolling on a bonus video stream for you. We do it in the morning. We can do it right now as well. YouTube Live, Facebook Live. Hope and Travis joining us. Travis just saying, who in their right mind is getting in front of a line drive Preston hits? Lou Holtz would have to go first to show me how it's done. Yeah, I'm guessing nobody chirped up, nobody piped up and said, hey, Coach Holtz, why don't you hop in at third base while I hit? Does that sound good?
No, but he would have said, you can't get water out of a rock, so he can't be hurt. So
and then driven off in the golf cart.
For sure.
See you. I want to get your thoughts as well on a couple of comments from Gamecock assistant coaches yesterday. One on the importance of special teams and the sacrifice and the tone it can set for a program, and then the other, a bit of a peek, I think, into the 2021 offense for the Gamecocks that is a big question mark right now in a lot of ways, with Marcus Satterfield never being an SEC offensive coordinator and having spent a little time with Joe Brady up the Carolina Panthers as assistant offensive line coach. So we'll do that when we come back. Also talk some Carolina baseball after they dropped the series opener last night against LSU. You're listening to The Extra Point here on 107.5 The Game.
More of The Extra Point next on 107.5 The Game.
We know it's that time of year. Spring.
All right. I think you should be able to hear me now. Patrick, you got me?
Yep, I got you.
And then we had Preston coming through. Was that coming through maybe coming through the board there earlier?
Yeah, I think so.
Gotcha.
Because I had both of you guys in the preview.
Yeah, it's because I'm looking at his video right now, and it doesn't have a mic.
The echoes we were talking about right now is because I had you guys in the preview in here, so it was because of me.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, we should be good. Yeah, we should be good now.
And then I need to
Stacy?
Tim, hear me now?
Yeah.
I need to dip out about 12:50.
Okay, man.
All right. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. It's a heavy tutorial process, right, Patrick, to teach someone how to do this?
How to click a link? Yeah, it's hard.
No, we got Heath and Jay on a live stream with us one time. We were doing a basketball companion thing. So just a matter of want to. You guys just pressure them, peer pressure them as much as possible.
They don't want the pressure of having to entertain in between breaks.
I mean, we could even give them a break there. We could throw out the old color bars, just run the commercials if we had to.
It's true.
That's the deal breaker. I see some shows do that.
Yeah,
apparently, yesterday I think it was, the Cumulus Sports Station in Nashville announced they're just calling it whatever their station is, TV now. They're going all they go 6A to 6P, all local shows, but they got 4 cameras set up in their studio, I guess, and they're going to live stream it all. So I'm hoping that's coming our way.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We'll see.
And then, because then in the video, it won't look good. Or I don't think it'll sound good with the 3 laptops.
Well, that's why we'll just do the program deal. But, yeah, somebody will have to, during the breaks, it'll probably be over each other, right?
Yeah.
When we're in studio, you're saying?
Well, yeah. Sometimes the break conversation is the best conversation.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
Yeah, but the reason we're not ignoring Preston right now, you're going through your phone, Preston, but you got no audio coming through that sucker? I think that's where we're at. Yeah, can't hear you there. And then I try to unmute your mic.
I'm muted, but I can hear y'all.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, we got you now. So if you leave it up like there, right there, when we go into the show, I can just mute your mic on there, and we'll go through the program audio, and we'll be good.
So the live stream, they'll hear everything that we hear on the show.
So you're good right now, just how it is. You don't no, you still go through.
Like this, we're good?
you still go through just like you normally would during the show, the studio mic. And I'll take your mic out that you just opened up on your phone. I'll click that so there won't be an echo or anything. I'll mute that, and everybody will be hearing how we're going through the show.
Well, I think I'm gonna get a missed assignment today because my phone is about to die. I didn't know we was
I gotcha.
So I might need to run some laps or do some burpees or something. I missed assignment on Preston.
Fair enough.
I think
we'll
got
still
10%.
be able to hear you though.
We'll see how long 10% goes.
Nice. So Patrick, do you see Limbo and Hardesty? Comment from one of each of those, or one on special teams and one on offense?
Yeah.
Let's do the special teams one coming back in right now, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if you can, bless you.
Thank you.
If you can, fade that music out pretty quickly, so I'll pop up the audio in on that comment.
Okay. You can go ahead.
Putting the program first, putting your teammates first, understanding the importance of this. It's all part of a much bigger picture that is going to be really the heart and soul of what we do. So that's always starts at the top. I always tried to be one of those head coaches that emphasized it every day and supported it every day. And it's great to be working for a guy like Shane who feels the same way. It's not just giving it lip service.
Yeah.
Those leaders, those guys that get it, and you mentioned two of them, they start leading by example first.
That's Pete Limbo, special teams coordinator, assistant head coach at Carolina football this year. Talking about those two guys specifically, he was referencing to Carryon Joyner and Nick Muse that popped up in his media availability yesterday. Welcome back into the Extra Point. Tim Hill helping to fill in for Pearson Fowler. Patrick Perrette pushing the buttons here in the Herndon Chevrolet Studios in downtown Columbia, along with Preston Thorne, the former Gamecock, is much more qualified to speak on this than we are. Preston, are you buying what Pete Limbo is selling there? The special teams can set the tone for not just a team, I guess a football team, but a program, and a guy like Shane Beamer at the top, and then Limbo with his special teams reputation coming from Memphis and really well respected across the country, that can be a big asset for this program?
So this is coach speak. And I have to buy it, though. But this is actually true, right? So this is one of those things where if you heard it, you'd be like, yeah, right. But the reason why it's true is because of the idea that if you have your best players buying into this concept of special teams, then you know that they're bought into the whole team as a whole. And when you have Shane Beamer, who's not an offensive or defensive coach, then you know that he's going to emphasize this, a critical part of the game. He's not going to try and hold some of his better athletes out, hoping that they don't get injured or they don't get tired for offense or defense, which a lot of times that's what happens. And I will say, especially with offensive coaches, they don't want a lot of their best players, best athletes to be playing special teams and run the risk of getting hurt or tackling somebody and everything like that. And that was one of the things that was really impressive about Debo's career here at South Carolina. I just remember distinctly how he played almost every special team. And I think even in that last game where he really didn't have to play, he recovered a punt or fumble or something along those lines. And he just played every special team, and he played hard every time. And when your best player takes special teams seriously, nobody else has any excuse.
Yeah, you're talking about Akron, I think, who broke through and broke a punt, right? And as you were saying, the last game, I was like, wait a second, he decided not to play his last game. Maybe that's
the last game he decided to play.
Right? Maybe that was part of the devastating effect it seemed like the team it had on the team in that Belk Bowl when he's on the sideline and not playing. But that's another thing that I want to make very clear, that Will Muschamp had this type of philosophy as well, and a guy like Debo Samuel, I think a guy like Shi Smith, they seem to buy in on this thing. So this is not going to be necessarily a huge departure from what the old staff stressed. I don't think we ever heard Will Muschamp say it quite like this. He certainly didn't have the reputation either for being a special teams guru. He did admit towards the end of his career that he's a defensive guy and a special teams guy, and he probably needs to stick to that and stay out of the offense and the whole thing. my question for you is, you mentioned some offensive coaches prefer not to have their best players there. You got any examples of that through the years of specific guys or instances that you can remember?
Well, you just think, again, I hate to come down on them, but it's a lot of times it's the diva receivers. They're the best athletes a lot of times, but they don't want to tackle. They don't want to be touched. They're tired from running routes all day and on air and not getting the ball. A lot of times they're a little bit more temperamental. So a lot of times it's those guys that don't want to. The offensive linemen, they can't play any special teams. They only can play one. So it's a little bit limited. Quarterbacks are not going to play. So, it's usually the burden of special teams usually falls on your defensive guy. So when you have an offensive guy like Nick Muse or DeCarrion that are wanting to take on the burden of playing extra special teams, I think it does send a big message to the team.
I always end up thinking of Alabama when we talk about this, because that is one thing that they've always done, is have their best players be their best special teams players too. Like both sides too. Like obviously Jalen Waddle is an electrifying returner, and when he was out, Devontae Smith did the same thing. But even like going 10 years back, I mean, you'd see like their best DBs are out there making tackles as gunners on special teams. You'll see like Minka Fitzpatrick's going to be a top 5 pick, but he's out there making tackles on special teams. Like that really does seem like it would be infectious around a program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the idea has changed about special teams. So I think before maybe special teams was a chance to maybe get some guys some reps that maybe were second teamers or things like that. But a lot of coaches are seeing how important special teams really are, and the margin for error is so slim. You don't have an opportunity to put somebody in that's not ready to make a play or to change the momentum of the game. And so I think that's probably a coaching philosophy that probably has changed in the last 10 years. And I wouldn't be surprised if, Saban was sort of on the cutting edge of that.
Yeah, on both sides. Gap integrity is super important, and like kickoff returns in particular. If you just have one guy that's in the wrong place, one cutback, and it's over.
Yeah, speaking of that, Deebo Samuel had a really good Carolina career with kickoff returns, and you feel like Will Muschamp gets no credit from that. I think we had a text with almost that sentiment. Like the only reason Will Muschamp had decent special teams was because of Deebo Samuel. Guys did have to be in the right place. It's just I don't think we can remember special teams winning many games in the Will Muschamp era. Maybe at the beginning, maybe in the 9-4 season, you can go back and look and see a play here or play there. Certainly in the last few years, you didn't get that sense. Does Shane Beamer, does his name with the Beamer ball reputation still carry any weight with players today? Preston, do you think, or is that kind of ancient history for guys who are 18 to 22? It's so hard for me to even fathom being at that age when I'm twice that age these days.
Again, I would just like listeners to reference Anthony Edwards not knowing who A-Rod was. And, so he definitely doesn't know who Frank Beamer was. I mean, he's going to be like, oh, that's your dad, huh? That's the old grandpops that's going down there. So I don't think it rings a bell with them, but the philosophies and ideas that Shane knows are important does make a lot of sense. And I'm not sure if there are any teams that right now that are really, really known for their special teams the way that Virginia Tech squad really was. But Frank, but the idea that, Frank Beamer is going to ring bells with 18 and 19-year-olds, that's probably a little overstated.
Chris hits us up on the Facebook live stream, says Stephon Gilmore was playing special teams when he was here. A lot of good defensive players were then. Yeah, Chris Culliver set the school record, I think, for most kickoff returns back in that same kind of era. And that's why I wanted to get your take on this specifically, Preston, because it's not a new idea necessarily. It is more of a trend now that the best players play on special teams. But it is what I heard from Pete Limbo, classic coach speak in a lot of ways. And yet sometimes those cliches, they actually are true. I mean, there's a reason they're cliches, and they can have more truth to them. Some have more truth to them than others, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I appreciate how you put it there. Yes, that's coach speak, but yes, you're buying it about the culture of this team and what they can do. Coming up next, I want you guys to hear something that running backs coach Montario Hardesty said in his press availability yesterday, because this one is all over the place about what the Gamecock offense might look like. And I don't know exactly how to interpret it, hoping to get Preston's help. And then maybe, Patrick, you can break it down in an NFL draft prognostication way. We'll see if we can put it through the ringer here. We'll do that next here. Tim Hill filling in for Pearson Fowler, Preston and Patrick alongside. It's the Extra Point on 107.5 The Game.
More of the Extra Point coming up next on 107.5 The Game.
There we go. And so now we're back out. Now just come over and press the button here, and should be able to hear you and Patrick.
Do you know who
laptop now?
Do I what?
You hear me through the laptop, apparently.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we down to? 7% now, Preston? What was that?
No, it's even worse. It's at 2%. It's not going to
Wow,
happen. It's not going to work. It's not going to
That's
work.
it.
Make it.
That was a good run. First 30 minutes. You got it. We'll work on your framing with that.
I guess so. 1%. As we speak,
Nice.
1%. Maybe it even shut off while we're on there.
Let's see you disappear.
I'm just gonna let it die though. So we'll see. But when you don't see it no more, that'll be it.
Nice. He already got him fading out right at that 1%. I feel like he should be playing the playing the guitar, and we should see his hands start to disappear. And then if you see yourself disappear, just go with I'm melting them.
Patrick, where's your whiteboard? And why can't we get a whiteboard for
Right.
us?
You can't travel with that?
I can't. I don't even think my car. I actually don't think my car is big enough to travel with it. It's pretty tall. It's like 6 feet tall.
It would be amazing. You walking in.
Oh, so
Rolling it in.
I've only
It's got
heard
wheels.
the whiteboard. I've never seen it though.
Oh,
It's electric. It's big for our brakes.
wait a second. Does this mean that Preston might not be subscribed to our YouTube page? Our
That's what it
YouTube.
sounds like.
I think we busted.
That's exactly what it means.
How dare you, sir? You could be like 730.
I like to listen on terrestrial radio.
That's cool too. You don't have to listen on YouTube if you subscribe to the dang thing.
I can't actually do that in my house. I don't have a radio.
What number are y'all at now?
Right? I hear you.
730, I think.
Right around there. Yep.
Let's see. 729.
You're crushing poor Hope there. Yeah, she says, get on it.
I hope for you, I will do it. I'm on it.
That's more like it.
After my phone dies and gets rebooted.
Always qualify there. So Patrick, come back with that Hardesty soundbite. Cool with you?
Cool.
Right. See, Chris subscribed on the YouTube channel, maybe watched on there once. Yeah, that's all we're asking. Just click the button, man. How is this messing with your sleep schedule, Patrick?
It's okay. I mean, I got to sleep right when I got home, which was nice. I should have drank coffee when I woke up, but I played it close and just left. Slept as long as I could instead of waking up early to make coffee.
Oh, there goes Preston. We lost.
Yeah. I figured that's what happened when he was frozen for like 10 seconds straight. That's how it always happens when I lose internet in the studio. I just freeze for 10 seconds and then pop out eventually. All right, here we go.
You got Hardesty?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll kill the music quick.
Thank you.
Formations, different things, like a lot of different nuances in our offense. And honestly, it's a grown man offense. It's NFL style. If you look at our installs, man, it's things that they're running in the NFL. It's timing. Is dual reads from the quarterback. Is the running back. You got to know outside, inside. You got to pick up protection. We're picking up blitz and safeties, blitz and corners, all those different things. And multiple, man. As a tailback, we've been spread out. We've been moving all over the field. We're shifting. We're motioning. So I'm liking it. I think we'll have to we will be able to do everything in the playbook and just kind of scale it down to game plan specifically for each team. But I think we're going to be very, very multiple, very dynamic. You know, I think we're going to stretch the field vertically, but also we're gonna make you check the sideline. We're gonna get some quick screen passes off to you. We're gonna see what you do, and also I think the biggest thing I like about it is that we're always ready to adjust. You know, if you got something where you're trying to stop our stuff, we always have something off that. So I'm really, really enjoying seeing how the guys are picking it up, and I'm enjoying to see how multiple it is and how we always got an answer for what you have.
Montario Hardesty, running backs coach for South Carolina football, yesterday in his press availability. Interesting thoughts I heard there in a lot of different ways. Before I give my little gas baggy hot take, wondering what Preston Thorne, since you're a former player, you know a lot more about the X's and O's than I do. What do you make of what you just heard? I know you went right to coach speak when we played the Pete Limbo clip about the special teams, but you said you bought it. What about what you're hearing from Montario Hardesty there?
Okay, we're going to do this with a food analogy. All right?
Okay, love it.
You ever go to the Cheesecake Factory?
Absolutely. Big menu.
Big menu. Big menu. You just look for the thing that you know and you kind of order it. Or like a Mexican restaurant that have 35 different combos and you just end up getting soft tacos. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here on offense. So if we're going to put this in the coach speak category, I'll say I don't buy this. Just for the idea that you can't do everything and be good at anything. You know, you can't. That's not how offensive football works. So whether that means that in the spring that we're trying to find our identity and we'll figure out in the spring what we're good at and we'll throw the rest of it away. But going into a season, it does the offense and everybody well to sort of have an identity and know who you are. So if we're going to put this on like the coach speak rankings, I would say not buying.
Okay. Patrick, what did you get from Montario Hardesty there? I was surprised most by the grown man analogy there and how much that they're getting out there. I know Marcus Satterfield told us, though, they're going to throw everything out there in the spring and then figure it all out. But from Hardesty's pretty vast experience being kind of all over the place, right? He's been in the NFL as a player, played at Tennessee for years, then has been at different levels of football in his coaching career. I believe it was Norfolk State and Charlotte, maybe something like that. It is impressive to him. So what do you take away from it?
What is the saying? Something of many, master of none. What's that saying?
Jack of all trades, master
Jack
of
of all trades, master of none. Yeah, that's like that. I think that's what I was getting from what Preston just said. Like, I guess this is just what happens when you're basically building an offense from scratch, which it really feels like they're doing. I mean, that's what they're saying. Like, we're going to have pro concepts. We're going to have college concepts. You know, I guess when he's talking about the pro concepts as a running back, you're talking about under center, the handoff, because that's what they always talk about is the timing with all that stuff when you can hand it off and get a running back a running start rather than him just standing there and you handing it to him right off the shotgun. Like, we're going to have that. We're going to have all these different things. Like, we just need to see it. I mean, this is the most fascinating offense, it sounds like, of all time. And then I feel like the spring game is going to arrive and it's going to be the most basic concepts and it's going to be what we've seen a million times over. So, like, this is what we've said a bunch on the morning show. Just show me. Like, they're not reinventing the wheel here on offense. So, I mean, I'm glad they're all excited, but yeah, I'm not going to get worked up about it.
So, Preston, my question is, how much different do you anticipate this offense looking in 2021 than it looked in 2020? Because Mike Bobo, it's going from the extreme, right? Mike Bobo is one of the most experienced SEC offensive coordinators there is.
Yeah, and I guess this is where I have to, I may depart from a lot of folks, but, I think the numbers just bear out that, Mike Bobo did a decent job last year calling plays, and it'll obviously look different because he has sort of a signature. He has a signature. When you say Mike Bobo, you kind of get an idea of what he's trying to do. And I think any really good to great offensive coordinator, you hire them because you know what they do. And so the idea of trying to shape and form and mold it or create it from scratch, that's interesting to me, and we'll see how it goes. But I don't know. I'm with Patrick on this. Let's see what it is, because and also the other idea is in the spring they're not going to be able to execute everything anyway, so you'll probably just go back to calling basic type of things and seeing if they can do those, and we'll see where we get during the year. But the concept of having this huge playbook is it sounds cool until you can't remember what's on page 15,
Right.
and then it doesn't matter.
Well, both Marcus Satterfield and Shane Beamer were pretty clear that they're going to figure it out. They're going to use the spring to try to figure it out and then keep it as, I don't want to say simple, but straightforward as possible, I think. And I think all coaches probably say that. And then, like, I didn't know the reputation that Kurt Roper had about practicing a bunch of stuff during the week that never showed up on Saturday until Kurt Roper wasn't the offensive coordinator anymore. And then players finally came out and had really the, I guess, the freedom, or, I mean, that was the damning thing about I think that was the Outback Bowl victory where Brian McClendon takes over and they score a bunch of points there towards the end, and players after the game say, yeah, well, it's nice to actually run things. We practiced during the week. You're like, oh, wait, what? Huh?
I can speak on that is frustrating as a player, and I won't. I'm not a huge fan, but I just say, I played for Rick Minner, and they called him Dr. Defense, and we'd be having all these exotic blitzes drawn up during the week, and we'd have 50 calls going into the game and all this cool stuff that we were doing that we worked on, and then we get in the game and we'd call the same 4 calls over and over and over and over and over again, and you kind of. What happens is by the end of the season, you're like, why are we even practicing stuff if we're just going to call over check fort or whatever? It doesn't matter. So that can be discouraging, and that's something you might need to watch out for when you start saying that you're going to do all these cool things and then you don't end up doing them. And let me say, on the flip side, Rick Minner might be saying, yeah, I didn't call them because y'all couldn't do them.
Right.
So I've been a coach too where you think you're going to do all these cool things and then the team just can't execute them.
Well,
so,
but
I don't know.
that's an unspoken, hey, you guys stink. We don't have any confidence in you. Right. And players.
Right. That's a real thing. That's
Right?
something you might say in the coach's office. You're not going to say that to your players, but you're like, we can't do this stuff. Who are we kidding?
Man, but players figure that out after a while. Like, there's no hiding it. If you're trying to work on it and it's not getting called, I think that starts to seep in somewhere. It might be unspoken, but I think you see it in body language, and I think we certainly saw that to some degree with Gamecock football in a lot of ways in the last couple of years. And I will also say, too, we saw a ton of times where the coaches had the players in the right positions, and they just didn't make plays. So I'm not trying to put it all on the coaching staff, but there is a reason there's a new one there, obviously. Plenty more Gamecock football. We'll get into a little Gamecock baseball when we come right back, previewing tonight's game number 2 in the series down in LSU. 8 o'clock first pitch, 7:45 airtime right here on 107.5. You're listening to The Extra Point.
More of The Extra Point up next on 107.5 The Game.
See that note I sent in the old private chat there from Blake?
Yeah, I saw that.
So you got Preston off now.
Yeah, you got it. All right, Preston's out here.
Appreciate it, Tim.
Thanks, Preston. See you, man.
It was a smoothie.
Steroids?
Yeah, it was mangoes and blueberries and raspberries.
Was it any good?
It was okay. I didn't have like yogurt or anything to mix it up with, so it was basically just fruit and water.
No, it didn't have the consistency that you needed.
No, it didn't have any flavor either. The yogurt usually adds the flavor. It was pretty terrible, actually.
Appreciate it, man.
See ya. All right. Got a big fight this weekend. You buying the Jake Paul fight?
No clue. Who you got?
The Jake Paul fight?
Jake Paul fighting who?
Ben Askren, the UFC fighter. It's going to make a ton of money. You're not that old. You know who Jake Paul is, right?
Nope. I've heard the name, I think, but
Yeah, he's the guy that knocked out during the Tyson fight that knocked out Nate Robinson.
Gotcha.
His brother was like the biggest YouTube star in the world, but he's like a legit boxer now. Like they're huge, and he's gonna fight a legit UFC fighter, and he's favored. He's minus 150. And if he knocks him out, people think he's gonna fight Conor McGregor's actually gonna take a fight against him. I might try and convince my parents to want to watch that.
What time is it? You're gonna stay up for that?
On Saturday night, sure. It's supposed to be 9 p.m. I don't think it will be 9 p.m. But
Good luck with that. 9 p.m. always means midnight fights.
yeah, but this isn't like a normal card, so there's only I think 4 other fights below him. So
Gotcha.
I think they'll be closer to 9 p.m. than anything. Yeah, he called out Mayweather, but I mean, Mayweather's fighting. I think still fighting his brother. I think is the thing, but they're just gonna spar, and it's not gonna be a real thing. Mayweather's just gonna dance around him.
So basically, be a fight. One of his fights.
That the one tomorrow will be a real fight because it's a real fighter, or it's like Askren is apparently known to not be like a good boxer or striker. He's a wrestler, so it's like the perfect matchup if you're gonna box a UFC guy. But nobody's beating Mayweather. That one's a joke.
I need help around my house to do it. Fortunately, zero credits. One and zero red, all you can clean your carpets better and differently than anybody else.
Reading about Aaron Donald and.
Did you see the video?
I did not.
Oh, the video's out. He clearly broke it up. Like he actually defended the guy that
Is now suing him.
is now suing him. Yeah, you can see him come in and pull people off. Yeah, I'll send it to you on Twitter right now.
Wow.
The guy's clearly a jerk for suing him and just trying to make money off the one person who he knows has money of the group. All right. All right, you're up.
Feel like this music, electric guitar like this, it can be either really, really good or really bad.
I'll give you one guess as to who it is.
That was
And I'm
Hendrix.
pretty sure you'll get it. No, just think of Pearson.
Oh, it was Fish.
That was Fish.
Yeah, I should have known. But I think that applies to Gamecock baseball right now. I feel like it's been what it has been this season, and unfortunately, last night it was the bad one, the bad bird. Just 3 hits, 16 strikeouts. Ultimately frustrating, down 2-0. I mean, let's not act like it was awful. LSU is a pretty good team that had a pretty terrible SEC record, but that's going to happen this year with what SEC baseball is. It's kind of what it always has been, and then some this year because of COVID last year, keeping more guys in college baseball and having a 5-round Major League Baseball draft. But Gamecocks down 2-0 in the 7th inning. So I say that, I'm like, obviously they're not completely terrible. Don't let me do that sports talk radio thing where I go way too much in hyperbole. But 2-0 last night, top 7. David Mendham rips one to right center. It looks like that it might be another tremendous play. LSU had just made a play to end the 6th inning, I think. Their shortstop goes up the middle and robs a base hit, throws a runner out first. I forget. I think it might have been Andrew Eister who was the hitter in that case. Yeah, that makes sense right in their lineup. Eister right before Mendham. And Carolina would have tied the game up, would have been 2-2 after 6, or who knows where it would have gone from there. But it looked like their center fielder, LSU center fielder, might make another great play. He goes full extension, and the glove was there on the ball, just couldn't quite make the play. It bounces around a little bit. Mendham gets a leadoff triple, and the Gamecocks don't score. Down 2-0 in the 7th. That's rough. Get a strikeout, and then a ground out to shortstop. Mendham thrown out at the plate. It was an overly aggressive tag, a weird kind of play, but umpires doing a good job making sure nothing there. Then in the ninth, LSU had already tagged on 3 more insurance runs, so it's 5-0. But their closer, basically just gives the bases loaded to the Gamecocks. I think it was a hit batter and a couple of walks, something like that. And Colin Burgess is up at the plate, hits one relatively well. It's right at the third baseman, right at the bag. Easy double play. That was the only run scored of the night. And the Gamecocks go down 5-1 in Baton Rouge to start the series. 1-4, I think, is the record now for the Gamecocks in series openers in the SEC halfway through the season, which if you would have told me that, I would have told you, oh boy, that record is not going to be good. But they've only lost 5 games. They're 8-5. So they've won all but one Saturday game and haven't lost on Sunday. And we have to obviously shift the calendar with a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. So in game ones, I should say, the Gamecocks now 1-4 in SEC play on the baseball field. They're 3-1 in game twos and 4-0 in game threes. We'll see if that trend continues. It's going to be really difficult because, Patrick, this LSU team is talented. It's pretty good. They haven't been that good on the mound, and we saw that last night in the 9th, I think, and the Gamecocks kind of gifting LSU a double play to get out of trouble. We'll see if Carolina can get right back, because I mentioned going into this thing, felt like they were playing with house money to a large degree with an 8-4 SEC record, LSU at 3-9, backs against the wall. This is one of those things, I think, where if LSU gets out to a lead tonight and keeps their positive momentum going, they're going to continue to look really, really good. The Gamecocks can come back the other way. I think they'll get their mojo going, and then things start to get a little tighter. The pressure situation starts to mount a little bit more against the home team there, and that would be advantageous for the Gamecocks, obviously. What did you see last night?
What was the crowd? How did we get a number on the crowd?
3,400, I think.
So that's pretty solid crowd. So yeah, I mean that's enough to really seize momentum if things are going poorly, I would think, right?
Oh yeah, and maybe let's see, I got it right in front of me. 37,47, the official attendance last night, and I would say that equates to about 5,000 typical
regular people. Yeah, you give every LSU fan like 1.5.
Yeah, exactly.
To a normal person. Yeah, that sounds about right.
And Alex Box is a little bit different than other places. Geez, people, it's baseball. No one wins every game. It's not like they're getting blown out. We got a great record. 3 series wins in a row. Series win against Clemson. A sweep against Florida. Chill out. Enjoy the body of work. Get ready for the postseason. Yeah, I think Steve-O is just talking to some overly sensitive Gamecock fans that have not even sent us any messages here in the noon hour. So I hear you, Steve-O. I don't think most people are panicked or overly worried.
No.
Mark hits us up. How do you not score with a man on third and no outs? You're not charged the plate, the score with 1 out and an infield hit. I don't even know what he was saying at the end there. But it was just a heck of a play by LSU. Unfortunate for the Gamecocks. Rough night. We'll see if they can bounce back. It was a rough start to the series last week at home against Missouri, and then 5th inning home run from Brady Allen completely turned that thing around. We'll see if the Gamecock baseball team can do that now against LSU. Patrick, nice work. That was fun.
It's easy to do 1 hour.
That'll do it for the extra point here. Thanks for putting up with me, helping to fill in for Pearson Fowler. Tommy Moody coming up today. Jay Phillips is also out. I don't know what these guys are doing. Is there a Fish concert somewhere? Is that what it is?
This is actually Cool in the Gang.
Oh, how about that? No, I just meant that Jay and Pearson are both out.
Yeah, probably traveling to one.
Makes sense to me. Halftime show is coming up next. Game time with Heath Klein, and then 8 o'clock tonight, first pitch for the Gamecocks. Here's the CBS Sports Update.
A CBS Sports Minute sponsored by NetSuite by Oracle.
That one snuck up on you, did it?
Yeah, because their timers are different than ours. Like it can be 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Ours can be a minute, so it just attacked me. It was really loud in my ears.
Yeah, always go off the clock on that one. I think it always hits at the top of the hour. We go off this. No, I guess it doesn't.
Well, but their like close hour bed is either 30 seconds or 40 seconds. Sometimes it's 45 seconds. Like it's never the same time, which makes it difficult to gauge. But it's okay.
Thanks for doing it, man.
Yep. I guess I will talk to you guys Tuesday then.
Sounds good. Enjoy the parents over the weekend. Have a good time.
Yeah, will do.
All right. Thanks, Patrick.
Yep.
Thank you guys for checking it out. Sorry you missed it, John. You can go back and look at it, though. That's the brilliance of the YouTube channel. This one's ending now, but you can watch it in all its glory. Yeah, I think it'll just automatically log. I don't know how that works. You'll figure it out. You're a smart guy. See you guys on Monday.